Welcome to Getting Sketchy Live, brought to you by thevirtualinstructor.com. And now, let's get sketchy.
Hello there, everyone. Welcome to Gettin Sketchy Live. This is the start of a brand new season. We're starting season 13 here on YouTube, and we're glad to have you along with us tonight as we go into our first episode of the season. This season, Ashley and I are going to be choosing our own subjects, but I'm getting ahead of myself. For those of you who are new to Gettin Sketchy, what we do here is either myself or Ashley, we try to create a drawing for you guys inside of 45 minutes, and we also try to give you a little bit of instruction in there as well. But don't be misinformed. We're trying to entertain you at the same time. So we do a lot of talking, a lot of joking around, because we're two sketchy.
Couple of sketchy guys.
Couple of sketchy dudes anyway. So a couple of sketchy dudes creating sketchy drawings for you. Actually, not too long ago, I didn't create it. AI created several theme songs for Gettin Sketchy, and maybe this season I'll share some of those with you because they're pretty funny. But I thought about using it as our lead-in music.
Yeah, with AI, we could have a different theme song every single week.
That's true.
It takes minutes.
That's true. Yeah. It doesn't take very long to do that, which is kind of disappointing. That's the world that we live in, but it is. And maybe I'll share some of those with you this season if you're interested. Some people don't like all the chit chatter and the playing of music and sound effects, but I don't really care. I like that kind of stuff, so we're gonna do it anyway. Tonight we're gonna be doing a drawing using graphite pencils, and I'm gonna be using my Lumograph black graphite pencils. So there's might be a little bit of another material in there too, but we'll just call them graphite pencils. And I'm going to be working on white paper, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But if you're new to the channel, or if you haven't done so yet, make sure you subscribe and click on the notification bell so you're notified when we go live like this and when I post static videos on the YouTube channel. And if you like this video, make sure you give it a like, of course. And I guess I should just say hello to Ashley. We've already talked to him for a second, but how are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good? Doing good?
It's been a while, folks. We haven't seen you guys, or guys may haven't seen us in a couple of months. We're super glad to be back. I'm excited about this season, and I'll be doing the drawing next week. I've got a few pictures that I'm kind of fiddling around with. They're up in the air. I'll choose one. So anyway, it's going to be exciting. Make sure you, what is it, Matt? Ring the bell. Check the bell. Get notified. Get notified.
Just push
you don't want to miss it. Yeah, you don't want to miss it, because when you're here live, you get to ask questions, art related or otherwise, and we hope to answer those questions, or we'll make something up.
Yeah, and I see that Jan, one of our very favorite folks that join us here on Gettin Sketchy, has already given us a super chat. Jan, I will take care of the groaning. It's not groaning, it's cheering. Sounds a little bit like groaning in just a minute. But Jan's comment is, so happy to see you guys back. Last season is a tough act to follow. Wow, that made me a little nervous, but I'm sure you're up to it. Well, thank you so much, Jan.
Yeah, we had some nice pieces last season.
Yeah, we did.
Successful season.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. We'll have some, raise the bar a little bit, and we'll try to meet that for you this season.
We will try to raise the bar. The bar is already pretty low, so we don't have to raise it.
It's a 45-minute bar.
Right.
Whatever we can do in that length of time.
For sure. Okay. Well, it's great to see all you guys in the chat box, and from people all over the world.
I saw Vietnam, India, lots of folks from the United States, Oregon, Florida. So thank you guys for being here, whatever time it is where you're at.
Yeah, Canada, Jamaica, India, all over the world. Thank you guys for joining us live. Of course, this is recorded too, so if you do miss the live lesson, you could, or not the live lesson, that's next. That's after this. If you do miss this episode of Gettin Sketchy, they're recorded, so you can watch it. But that's irrelevant for those of you who are watching this live. There is a chat box. You can post comments and questions. If you do have a comment or question that's directed specifically at Ashley or I, we ask that you do what Jan did and use the super chat function. Not only does that help out our channel, but it also gets your comments prominently displayed there on the chat box, and it will help us see it a little bit easier and answer your question or comment. It doesn't have to be about what we're doing tonight, anything art related, of course, and we'll do our best to answer those questions for you. And
welcome to Getting Sketchy Live.
That's the wrong button. Okay, it wouldn't be Getting Sketchy if I didn't push the wrong button.
And of course not. And
Anyway.
you want more sound effects, more bells and whistles and buttons to push.
Right. Well, what I want to tell you about is the membership program at thevirtualinstructor.com. There are a ton of courses, and we do weekly live lessons. We cover pretty much every medium and subject matter that you can imagine. And the membership program is so vast and expansive. Our courses include not only videos, but also ebooks. We do the live lessons each week. They're streamed for an hour and they're recorded and stored in our vault. And I don't know the exact count, but there's well over 650 live lessons videos. And there's 500 Members Minute episodes where I critique viewer submitted artwork with that as well. And there's also a year-long curriculum for visual arts teachers, which includes everything you need to teach, all the resources, videos, everything. If you want to learn more about the membership program, there's a link in the description below. You can check it out for free for a week, see if the program is right for you. And then beyond that, we offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. So we want to make sure everybody is happy with the program. And it is very, very, very cheap for all the stuff that you get as well.
For years of viewing and learning.
Oh,
it would take years to get through all of those instructional videos.
Years. I did a podcast interview this morning, and they asked me how many videos are on the site, and honestly, I don't really know, but I would estimate probably about 2,500. So that's a lot of content there. And some of the live lesson series are 10 hours long. That just makes people overwhelmed. So there's a lot of content there. But anyway, you can check it out. Also, if you want to check out 3 free course videos and ebooks and get on our mailing list, there's a link in the description below for that as well. If you want to just dabble a little bit and get a bunch of free stuff sent to you, you can do that as well. Okay, enough of the chit chat. Let's go ahead and switch over and we'll take a look at the materials and then we'll get started. All right, I'm trying to pop my chair up here.
Look at that reference. Matt has already raised the bar. We've drawn people, we've drawn horses, but Matt is putting them together. We're going to draw a person on a horse.
I'm gonna draw. I was trying to think when I was writing the description for this video. I was trying to think, what should I call this? And the only thing I could think of is person riding a horse. But, this is a horseback rider. That's what this is.
That's right.
I don't know why I couldn't come up with a horseback rider.
Man on a horse.
Anyway, we're going to be drawing a person on a horse. Now, this is the photo reference that I'm working from. If you want to have your own photo reference, your own version of this, you can go to the community tab on the YouTube channel to do that. Click on the little icon of my face in the lower left-hand corner, and then click on the community tab, and then you'll see that image. But I'll have it up throughout the broadcast tonight, right over here, so you can kind of see what I'm doing. And now the paper I'm working on is just regular 80-pound white sulfite drawing paper. I think this is Strathmore 400 series. So it's got a little bit of a tooth, but not too heavy. It's still pretty smooth. And like I said, I'll be using my Mars Lumograph black pencils. These are, these are technically graphite pencils. We tried to figure out what they actually are, but I think that there's graphite in here and also a little bit of carbon. So I think
that's what we settled on.
Yeah, I think they're a mixture between carbon pencils and graphite pencils. These pencils reduce the graphite shine that that we have to deal with graphite. And I would really rather prefer to work with traditional graphite pencils, but I'm using these tonight to hopefully reduce any shine here that might show up because of the lights on the camera.
You don't have too many really dark areas in here, so it probably wouldn't have been too much of a problem with traditional graphite pencils.
Well, you remember the last live lesson series?
Oh yeah, that's
the
right.
Graphite tree. So I ended up having to build this platform that I'm working on.
At a specific tilt.
Right, a specific tilt.
So that the lights don't shine on the graphite as much.
To reduce the graphite shine. The pencils I have in my hand are from that set. I've got an HB, a 2B, a 4B, and a 6B. And I might use all of them, might not. I'm going to start with the HB pencil. And I also have a paper towel. I'm going to keep this handy so that I can keep it underneath the palm of my hand. So hopefully I won't smear anything on the surface. I have a kneaded eraser here. Don't know how much I'll be using it, but I do have a kneaded eraser. And I also have an electric eraser as well. This is a vinyl eraser or plastic eraser. Some people call it a plastic eraser, but it's I think it's made out of nylon.
That's right. So, nylon.
Anyway.
Nylon or vinyl?
Yeah, vinyl, nylon.
I can't remember.
They're all the same thing, right?
I think it's vinyl. It's plastic.
It's plastic.
It's a type.
It really is a vinyl eraser.
Yeah, I think so.
But is vinyl a form of nylon?
I do not work for DuPont.
This show will make you ponder things that you shouldn't ponder and that are probably factually inaccurate.
That's right. That's right.
I know that it's a plastic eraser, so we'll leave it at that. All right. Okay, so my plan of attack here is I have created a picture plane that is proportional to the reference. Now, this is a rather large picture plane, so I'm a little nervous about finishing this in time, but this measures 7 inches by 10.5 inches, and I have a little bit of a 1/2 inch border on either side. So if you want to create a picture plane that's exactly proportional to the reference, there you have it, 7 inches by 10.5 inches, if you want to draw alongside of me. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out where the head is located and where the bottom of the hooves of the horse are located. Then from there, I'm going to look at the proportion of how much the body takes up compared to the body of the horse. And then I'm going to start breaking things down into basic shapes. I'm going to draw those shapes. Then we'll work on the contours. And then lastly, we'll add some shading and value to hopefully create the illusion of form.
All right, that sounds like a good plan.
That is the plan. Are we ready? Oh, you know what? We forgot to give Jan his cheer for the super chat. So we can't overlook that.
No, definitely not. It's important.
So incredibly entertaining that is. We need to update that.
I'm wearing the same vest.
You're wearing the same vest that you're wearing tonight? That's hilarious. I should have worn the orange shirt.
Yeah.
All right, let's get the timer on here and get back into this. All right, so 45 minutes on the clock. So again, I'm going to find where the head is located approximately, and I'm looking at the space from the top of my picture plane up here to where the head would be located. I'm also looking from here to here to try to figure out what portion or how far out I need to go for that. All right, now I'm going to try to figure out where the bottom of the hooves are located, and we're going to give it about right there. And
it's so advisable to find the top and bottom of your subject before you start drawing so that you don't start drawing too large or too small and have extra space or not enough space when you reach the bottom. So
right.
Those 2 marks are really important, and they're always how I started figure drawings.
When you do that, you ensure that you get your entire figure on the picture plane.
Now, Matt, you said this is a horseback rider.
This is a horseback rider.
I think I can. Yeah. I think I can add to that. We might even more efficiently call this a horseman.
A horseman, yes.
Could he be a horseman?
Well, I was thinking about what people would search for to find this. Okay. And, honestly, I don't put a whole lot of thought into it anymore. Because who knows what people search for, but
search engine optimization.
I don't really think they search. Do they search that much for horsemen?
Probably. If they do, they're looking for Ric Flair. Or passages from Revelations. One of the two.
How many people are like, who is Ric Flair out there? All right, so I've kind of got an idea of where the head of the horse is going to be, or a general location. I'm drawing pretty light with the kind of almost the edge of my pencil.
And just looking for shapes.
Looking for shapes.
The main has texture, but right now it's just a shape.
And I'll say the neck comes down like this. Maybe the end of, looks like the end of the mouth of the horse is about halfway down the picture plane. Maybe just slightly below it, but generally in this area.
Mary Elizabeth says cowboy. That might have been a good term to use.
Yeah, but this guy is not really a cowboy. He looks like he's going to go hit the club later, He's
got his
he's not really
boiler hat on.
It's not that cowboy-esque. Right.
Oh yeah, some folks in the chat know who Ric Flair is.
Woo!
How can't you? Yeah, there you go.
Well, there are people that don't, I'm sure. I'm sure that there's a lot of people who don't know who Ric Flair is.
If you weren't watching TV in the 80s, you may
See,
not know.
Ric Flair is a big deal to us around here because he's from this area.
Yeah, and he still
that
makes it into
shoulder.
the local news every once in a while for his crazy old man antics.
Shoulder comes down. Looks like this arm kind of comes across. Now, one thing to keep in mind here if you're new to Getting Sketchy is that we are creating sketches. So we're not going to get too wrapped up in making sure everything is perfectly accurate. It won't be.
We're going to stick with a plan. So at some point, Matt will move on to another step. Whereas, if we were making a finished artwork, we may spend a little longer on working out proportions and things like that than we would in the program.
Definitely.
When you're sketching, you're going around with your sketchbook. Same thing. You have limited time. We can't spend, well, I guess we can, but we don't always have hours or days to spend on a drawing in our sketchbook. They're more like studies. So think of this as a study of a cowboy, a study of a horseman.
And I am drawing very loosely. I'm trying to keep my hand moving.
Matt's using pretty straight lines right now. There's a lot of curvy parts in here, but sometimes it's easier to start with straighter lines. We can always curve them up a little bit later on. It gives the drawing some structure.
Once I have some information on the surface, I can use that to make comparisons to put more information down. So started with where the top of the head was going to be and the bottom of the hooves. And then I'm just kind of piecing shapes together as I'm working down.
He looks to me like he's about to do a trick, like he's about to jump off and back on the horse, something like that. He's riding really
does
high.
Kind of look like that, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. This may be, the image looks like it's 130 years old, but it may be from a rodeo or something like that. It's hard to make out exactly what's happening in that, in the background. Some people and some sort of a structure, but it's a little mysterious.
All right, so let's bring down from the edge of the snouts, bottom part of the belly, and it looks like the belly needs to drop down maybe a little bit half, let's see, almost the same length as the head of the horse, but not quite. Maybe right in
Charles 0616 points out that there's a lot of foreshortening in here on the horse, and that it can be challenging.
There is. This is not an easy drawing.
When you showed it to me, I thought, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
This will be fun.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Now, it does have really distinct areas of value. The horse is medium gray. The rider is mostly medium and dark gray. So the shading, I think, can go pretty quick, but there's a lot of parts in here. Parts to find first.
Well,
I love the atmosphere.
Yeah,
It's
is
a little
pretty
overexposed,
cool
so
image,
it makes it feel real hot. Like we're in
Well, I did edit
West
this
Texas
idiot.
desert.
I did edit the image a little bit. I edited it. It's always ridiculous to say edited it.
There's a T in there, Matt.
I'm saying you say edited it.
Edited.
Edited it.
Oh,
Edited it.
edited it. Yeah, I'm not going to say that anymore.
Yeah. So it's not as easy as you think, huh? To say that. All right. So the bottom of the belly of the horse, we'll just let that wrap around here. And let's see, the edge of the body comes out here. So we need to.
Yeah, Keith points out you could
here.
simplify the shading down to probably just 4 values. And you could do that. You leave out a little bit of the nuance in the surface of the horse, undulating surface of the horse, kind of in his chest area. You do it in 4 values. It's a fun exercise. Make the same drawing in 3 values and in 5 values, and then fully rendered and see what the difference is. It's an exercise I used to do. Should probably bring back to the classroom. Now, was this image originally in color?
It was, yep.
Okay. I imagine I like the black and white better. I think it.
Well, the color was real faint anyway.
Oh, okay.
So it kind of had a similar feel, but a little different.
So look at the body that Matt is drawn right now in his drawing. If you think about just the body of the horse, it's almost a circle. So speaking of foreshortening, the horse is only as wide as his body is tall. Ordinarily, of course, a horse's body minus the neck and the legs, it's probably like 3 times longer than it is tall. So that gives us an idea of the ratio of foreshortening here.
You know what I thought you were going to say?
What's that?
I thought you were going to say a horse is a horse, of course.
Now, if people don't know who Ric Flair is, they're definitely not going to know about Mr. Ed.
You don't think so?
Do you think Mr. Ed has greater popularity in pop culture now than Ric Flair? We'll have to do a poll.
I don't know. I certainly know who, but I also know who Ric Flair is, and I don't know a whole lot,
And you know those two things.
And that's what's gotten me through life all these years is knowing who Ric Flair is and who Mr. Ed is.
Just for water cooler conversations, making friends. All right, Charles remembers Mr. Ed.
Of course he does.
There was a lot of zany shows back then.
Okay, as I get a little bit more confident with the shapes I have in place, I'm going to make some of the lines a little bit bolder. As you can see up there, let's get this stirrup in place. Comes right at the top of that foot. Just the stirrup is something that is not going to be detailed or anything like that, but it is a landmark that I can use to make further comparisons as we work down to the bottom.
Yeah, and you're in the middle of the picture, so it's harder to measure parts in terms of how far they are from the edge of the picture plane. So it's good to have a reference now in your drawing that you can kind of build other parts around. So it looks like it looks like our non-scientific poll, Matt. I can confirm through the chat that Mr. Ed is more popular, more well-known, even today, than Ric Flair.
That's what I thought.
There you go. Guess professional wrestling doesn't make it into all households.
Not like we think that it does. All right, so let's get some information about these legs in place. I'm going to start with this outward leg here, and you can see there's a diagonal that comes down. You see that? So got to pay attention to that and make sure that this
that leg
comes in
under the right side of the horse's head.
Exactly. Go straight down. And we get to the inside part of that leg.
And the head is one of the first things you drew. Have you been using the head to sort of work off of for some of these other parts along the way?
Right. And as I get down here to the bottom where the other hoof is, where the back hoof, hind hoof is, I know that I can compare because that hind hoof, strangely, is the lowest part.
Yeah, that is strange. This is like a Magritte painting.
Yep.
You know which one I'm talking about with the woman on a horse?
Right, with the trees.
Yes.
Yep.
And parts that are further away make it lower in the picture plane. I think it's because one hoof is off the ground and the other is kind of buried in the dirt, so we really can't see the very bottom edge. And that hind hoof may be next to the foreleg on our left. Maybe just as close.
Now I'm going to look at some of the negative spaces that happen down here and try to get a shape that's similar.
This is great. You've got 3 negative spaces in those legs to help with the relationship of those legs. Remember, folks, the empty spaces in a drawing are just as important as the subject itself, because it's still a shape that you can compare the height and the width of. And you get the empty spaces, for example, in this case, between the legs right, then you've drawn part of two legs and captured the relationship all at once. Pay attention to those empty spaces.
All right. Things are getting a little too
We did have
hot and heavy
a
down
question. Speaking of, since you're doing some erasing here, Mary Elizabeth had asked, do these pencils erase as easily as regular graphite?
Not as easy. They still erase, but not as easy.
So maybe it's even more important to start with an HB, start with a lighter pencil then.
Definitely. You don't want to start with a dark pencil for this, especially if you're using the pencils that I am, which I don't know how many people out there are going to be using the same type of pencils that I am using. I don't know how popular
most
these pencils
folks are following along with the regular graphite pencils. I'm sure you guys don't have to worry about studio lights and graphite shine, probably.
I do like these pencils, but I like the traditional graphite pencils the best, but these will work just fine for what we're doing here tonight. I'm just going to put a few straps here and there, then we'll get the rest of those legs in place.
Charles, I see your question, and Matt did say that the hind leg on our right has a lower hoof than the other hoofs that we see in the picture. And that's just unusual, because usually we think of whatever's further away as landing higher on our picture plane. So I think it's because of the position of the horse's legs while he's in motion. That leg is not really behind the foreleg on our left. And then the foreleg on our right is lifted off the ground, which just throws a whole wrench into the idea that whatever is closer is lower on the picture plane and whatever is higher is further on the picture plane. But that's pretty normal. Usually that's how parts fall in a composition. That helps, and it helps us manage a sense of space and depth in our artwork to notice those things.
Okay, so we have the strap across the front. And the strap down the side here. This horse is well strapped. And a strap across the top here. And one that comes out from the side and wraps right back underneath that. Is that called a mane on a horse?
I think so, yeah. The horse's mane. Now, Matt and I are not experts in horseback riding. We're not equestrians, but I have been on a horse a couple of times.
I have never been on a horse.
Oh, they are bumpy to ride, Matt.
I'm sure they are. They don't have a suspension system.
It's up and down, up and down.
There's no suspension.
Your back is the suspension system.
That means I could not ride a horse. Mm-hmm. I would not be able to do it. I would just have to fall off, I guess.
I guess you can kind of stand in the stirrups and get some weight off of your backside. Maybe that makes it a little more comfortable, but I'm just guessing here. I do watch a lot of Westerns. Like a lot.
Well, that definitely helps you ride a horse.
Yeah, right. Everything I know about horseback riding I learned from spaghetti Westerns. I just watched The Good, the Bad, the Ugly 2 days ago. My son and I watch it at least once a year, and I think it hasn't even been that long. I watch all 3 hours in anticipation of the last 10 minutes. I love it. The last 10 minutes.
I've never seen it.
Oh my gosh. Well, then you've got something to look forward to still in life.
Well, that's good.
I mean, you've got a lot of things to look
love
forward
it
to.
when I get to tell people about movies that they haven't seen that I think are awesome.
Right. And
I say that. I say, wow, I wish I was you.
Right.
I wish I'd never seen this movie. Because it would be awesome to watch it again.
Yep. It is, let's see. Jan says it is a masterpiece.
All right, so we got this hind leg back here, and it's going out at an angle. And again, I'm focusing on the negative spaces. And for those of you who don't know what negative space is, it's the spaces around the subject. So there's these little spaces in between the legs and things. They form shapes of their own. So we can look at those shapes and pay attention to those shapes to help us find the positive shapes. Got some sand kicking up here. That be pretty loose. Just let that kind of disappear down there. Let's see how much time I have. 26 minutes. Okay.
You're doing well. You're not even halfway.
Too bad. Not too bad.
Most of your contours in place. They look good. Keith mentions that the music in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is fantastic.
Now, I do know that.
Oh, yeah. It's so good.
Isn't that the one that goes... Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a historian, or he's a podcaster historian named Daniele Bellelli, and he is...
Now, wait a minute.
Yes.
Is this a real person?
Yeah. He's Italian. Daniele Bellelli.
Okay.
And he starts his show with the music from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And he's a very entertaining podcaster to listen to. So he must be a fan of spaghetti westerns as well. So every time I turn on his podcasts,
now, do you know why they call
excited.
it a spaghetti western?
Yeah. Everyone who made the movie practically was Italian.
Italian.
The director,
that's right.
The key grip, the cameraman. I mean, if you look at the credits, they everyone's name ends in a vowel. So, The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, a lot of it was filmed in Spain. It's kind of supposed to look like it's southwestern, and so I think they used some areas in Spain, which of course influenced architecture in Central and South America, and even in lower southwestern America. So it works. It works.
Now,
so these are European westerns, European American westerns.
I'm having such a time here. I'm just using the kneaded eraser to lighten the drawing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm having such a time here with this foot in the foreground. What in the heck?
The blurry one?
No, the
one that's in the
hind
dirt.
leg. What is it? What is it doing that?
Just shorten it.
It just feels so unnatural.
And I think some of that other hoof is buried in the dirt. Maybe when you get that little shadow down there in the dust next to the foreleg on our left, it'll feel right.
Well, right now, we just need to add some hints of detail on the face and the hat here.
Keith, I have listened to the Danish Symphony's version of the music and the spaghetti westerns, and it is so great. It is so great to watch on. I saw them on YouTube, and it's as good as watching the movie. I loved it. I think it's bookmarked. My son and I, we're fans of these movies. We've watched that. We watched that video a couple times. So one of those views is me, and one of those views is you.
All right. Let's see.
Working on a
get...
few little details up there now.
Well, I don't know how much I want to put on the face here. Kind of just want to insinuate the face with some shadow. Like have, instead of putting these details, because they're going to be small little features. And as I just kind of sketched them in real quick, it feels a little too cartoony. So I think what I'm going to do...
I worry about that with tiny faces.
Yeah.
It's challenging. You really just have to sort of shade them.
Right.
Shade into the features.
And that's what I think I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to...
If you just do it with marks
shade
or
in.
lines, it feels like comic books we grew up with.
All right. So let me just refine a few.
Michael R. says the three
Wedges.
spaghetti westerns plus the outlaw Josie Wales, best westerns. Matt, I think I found my people.
You found your people.
Yeah. I was going to bring up the Outlaw Josie Wales. It is so good. Also, my son and I watch it at least once a year. Now, if you're into more modern Westerns or modern made Westerns, I'm a big fan of 310 to Yuma. I think it's fantastic. And it's not too old.
All right, I think we're ready to start adding the value in earnest here.
Very good.
Value is the shading.
How are you going to do the background?
I'm going to leave the background open. I'm going to put,
Okay. I was
put a
curious
few
about
little
that.
indications of some shadow and the sand kicking up here. We'll see that here in just a minute. But yeah, the background's going to stay light. I ain't got time for that.
I thought maybe you'd use a dirty stump and just kind of brush it in a little
I could
bit.
do that. I'm planning on not using a stump at all in this drawing. All right, I'm going to switch over to the 2B pencil and start getting some of these medium to dark values in place. Like I said, I'm not sure how many of these different values of graphite I'm going to use. We're going to start with the 2B here. And this is kind of how I'm going to sketch this out. Kind of just loose and quick. So we don't really have time for like blending stump action in this drawing. So I'm going to keep it sketchy and loose here. And I'm going to start at the top and work my way down. So I can kind of keep the palm of my hand out of the way.
And the darkest values are at the top too. So that'll help a little bit. You won't have your paper towel over a lot of dark values that could smudge. You guys are naming all my favorite movies in the chat. And I see Dorothy mentions Tombstone. You know, I liked Wyatt Earp also. Came out, I think, in the same year or the very next year, maybe. And of course, it had Kevin Costner in it, who I'm not a fan of at all, but I thought he did a great job as Wyatt Earp. Very similar story, twice as long. Tombstone's probably better.
So why don't you like Wyatt Earp? I mean,
Kevin Costner acts the same in every movie.
so you just don't like him as an actor?
I don't like his range, but that doesn't mean I don't like some of his movies. I thought that he was wonderful in Tin Cup, and also in Wyatt Earp. Those were two of his best. Waterworld, not so much.
Oh, well, who likes Waterworld?
Right. But he was so good in. Is it Tin Cup? Wasn't that the golf movie that he was in?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
So I'm going to suggest the features here by just kind of having some variety in the value. So, you know, where the eyes are located, there's just a little bit of a darker value where they are recessed. And then it looks like down along the edge of the nose, there's a little bit of a darker value. I'm going to put a little bit of darkness underneath the bottom of the nose. And
just a shadow.
Then a little bit of an indication of the top lip here. We're just going to keep the rest of that, just suggested features. So if we have time, I will zoom into that area so you can see what I'm talking about. All right, for the shirts, we're going to let that be kind of a medium to dark value, but still light enough so it'll contrast the dark vest this guy is wearing.
So far, those darks look good. You know, using the carbon pencils, it seems to show
with
up well.
Just 2B, just 2B. We're not 2B. No, it's 2B. But that was the question. All right, we can go nice and dark up here on the vest. There's a lot of pressure.
Michelle in the chat says that she worked at the golf resort that they filmed Tin Cup at, and she was supposed, and her and others were supposed to keep it a secret. How exciting!
Oh, really?
All the
That is
pros showing
exciting.
up for their cameos.
Which is also something that you would see at a golf tournament anyway, you know.
Yeah, that's true. All
All
right.
right, so we got a shadow that comes across here. And so all of this is going to be a little bit darker. And I'm going to try to create a little bit of a feeling of movement here with the mark making.
Keith says you've even caught the rider's likeness, and he does look good.
Let some of those lines extend out a little bit.
And this gesture.
Oh, thank you. And that area just kind of blends right in to the hair and stuff up here. A little bit of tone on that ear over there.
Matt is channeling his Frederick Remington tonight.
Guess so. I haven't looked at the clock here. 15 minutes. Can I do it? Don't know.
It's going to be a 4-value horse.
There's a lot of value left to go. But you know what? I'm gonna race like a horse to finish this. This is pretty dark under here.
Oh,
and you know what? I'm gonna save some of my 2B pencil and go with the 4B here to fill this in.
Those legs were complicated to work out. You had to spend some time down there tonight.
That's true.
Pretty small.
Again, I'm letting some of these lines go out just to kind of give the drawing a little bit more of a feeling of movement.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to do that all the way down the body. That might end up being a bad decision, but got to take risks. Now, I am noticing that this guy has buttons on his vest.
Well,
there are going to be no buttons on my drawing.
Then it's not any good. Now, I was talking to a student in my classroom today, just reminding her that the reference that she was working from, and it was a reference photo that she'd taken herself, so I'm real proud of my students for generating their own references. We don't always do that here on Gettin Sketchy. Sometimes we do. We don't always do that. But I just reminded her, nobody's going to see your reference when they look at your artwork. So it's not bad or good because you have all the details. You want to be selective. Which ones, some of them may be important. You may need details to create emphasis, that is, to create a focal point. But the success of an artwork does not hinge on capturing the details. And so, that goes for Matt tonight, and it goes for you guys too. So leave the buttons out. It's not going to make your artwork any less pleasing to look at.
I'm certainly not concerned about the buttons.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny to talk about the buttons when this is a 45-minute drawing here. Gotta have the buttons. All right, let's put some attention to the horse now.
He's got that blaze on his nose that's so gleaming white, but there is a little value to the left of that, isn't there? He's not totally washed out there in the face.
Oh no, he's kind of he's going to be a gray horse in ours, but there is a little bit of grayness.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very light gray, especially on the side where we've got the light, but got a little dark there. It's okay. The right side of the horse is going to be darker. So that little patch will stand out a little bit more. Some of these flowing pieces of hair.
Man's thinking about the direction of his marks now.
Yep.
Letting them sort of describe a little bit of the texture there in the mane, incidentally, just by using a specific direction. Really the only place you can tell the direction of the first growth, maybe a little bit in the neck. Or hair. It's hair.
Well, it's tricky here because the value of the hair and the value of the pants are very similar. So in those situations,
Right.
I like to try to just make one a little darker than the other. So there is a little bit of contrast.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll make the pants a little bit darker down here. And there's a little open area right here. Kind of covered up. So I'm going to...
Oh, that is where he's raised up out of the saddle.
Yep. All right. This pencil needs to be sharpened, but I don't have time to stop.
Got just over 10 minutes.
$10, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Things were looking so promising. Till I started shading the...
I think
I'm not even using my paper towel anymore. I'm just going for it.
Abandoned it.
Just whatever.
Throwing caution to the wind.
Whatever smears on the surface. I don't care.
It's background smear now.
There's so many little subtle changes of value over here. And I just am not going to be able to get all those subtle changes of value. So I have to kind of just simplify things a little bit and make decisions based on what my final sketch will look like and not necessarily exactly what I'm seeing in the reference. So you have to kind of give yourself a little bit of freedom to do that.
Mm. John says, find the powdered graphite.
Yeah, I could use some powdered graphite. Just brush it all the way on here.
Just brush it all over the horse.
Let it go everywhere. I'd still have to go back with the blending stop and control it. There is there's a little bit of a highlight over here. So in order to show the highlight,
I was looking at that.
I've got to draw an edge.
Yeah.
So
because the highlight on the nose just runs right into the rest of the face, and there's this little dot of gray, I guess, where the other nostril is or above it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I don't know if that would be enough otherwise, especially with no background bumping up against the light side of the head.
We'll get this other shoe in here. There's the strap. We'll make it a little bit darker so it stands out a little bit more. And again, to make that highlight stand out a little bit, I'm just going to put a little bit of a broken line here.
Mm-hmm.
Just so we can see where the bottom of the shoe is. And let's make the eye a little bit darker.
Fistful of pencils.
That's how I roll. All right, let's work our way
A few
down
pencils
here.
more.
couldn't see how much time was left because my hair was in the way. Did you notice that? My big old head was in there.
Yeah, blends right in.
I looked up there. I was like, oh my gosh, what happened to the
All
timer?
those O's and the 6 look just like curls in your hair.
Oh my gosh, look at it. Look at how much more is left on the picture playing. How much more open space there is.
You could treat it kind of like the bear you drew last season, where the drawing just sort of fades away as you get further down.
I could, but I'm not. I'm gonna get this one.
And there's a lot of darks in the legs that balance out the rider in this case. So you really do need to get those darks in down low.
Yeah. So if we all know how the timer is.
Alex has an interesting suggestion that has never crossed our mind. It may be just antithetical to the idea of getting sketchy, but he says on complicated sketches like this, why not make it a 2-part series?
Well, we kind of reserve that for the live lessons.
Yeah, we do longer, anywhere from usually like 6 to 10 lessons in an artwork for the live lesson. So, and we might be inclined to sketch less. We still do want these to feel like sketches.
Right. If I knew I had an hour and a half to do,
he would still be drawing this first leg.
I would still be on the contours. So, we'll go and we'll get finished with this drawing. It may run a little bit over.
Now, Matt, something that could be interesting to do for some of our folks who are members and participate in the live lessons is to do a sketch of a composition, then also use that same reference for a live lesson. And then we could look at the two when we're finished.
Oh, yeah, that is a good idea.
And a sketch would just be like a value study, and then it may be something like an in-color painting for the live lesson. That would be fun.
That's a good idea. I like it.
All right, Alex, thanks for your suggestion. And we may not exactly take it, but it's led us to another idea. So thanks for that. Brainstorming together. Yeah, and Jan points out that the pressure of the time is part of the fun and the appeal.
Right. Yeah, that is too. And on the live lessons for the members, we're not terribly serious, but we are more serious.
We'll try to be just a bit less sketchy in the next
hour. We can
hour.
never be totally serious. That's impossible. And art's supposed to be fun anyway. So we're going to try to have fun in whatever we do.
Right. Doesn't matter what you do or how hard your job is. You can still try to find some moments of joy in there.
And we shouldn't take ourselves or our art in general too seriously, which so many people do. And then it drive you crazy. Get all snooty and uptight about art and what art should be. What is art? What isn't art? Never taken well to that type of attitude. No, some of these highlights down here are not going to really stand out as much because of, I'm obviously a lot looser with the pencil at this point. Just getting some information down as quickly as possible. Let's get a few sketchy lines coming off of the back edge of the horse there. Pay no attention to that 2 minutes and 46 seconds. Pay no attention to
the timer you're looking for.
This is definitely the timer that you're looking for. Because we all know that once the timer goes off, my pencil will still be moving. We're not gonna leave you hanging with.
Right. Anytime I put my pencil down at the timer, I feel like I've messed up. I feel like I did something wrong.
Right, you do feel like
you get my drawing done in time.
Well, like last season, that line and wash image that I did, I thought for sure that would take the entire time. And I was finished on time with that for the most part.
I had a drawing last time that I finished on time. I don't remember which it was.
So that should tell you something. We can't even think of the drawings that we finished inside of the 45 minutes.
There's always a little spillover. We're just filling up the hour. Beyond. Yeah, Hoot and Holler says, looks like Getting Sketchy may go into overtime.
It always goes into overtime.
When I watch sports, if it doesn't go into overtime, I feel like I've wasted my time. I want that pressure. I like to see overtime.
Yeah, the Panthers won in overtime.
Oh, did just like this past
Sunday?
week?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep. Their second win in a row. Look out. I'm not getting too excited, but it is exciting. When your team is terrible, it really makes the thrill of victory so much sweeter.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you don't really get to taste it that often. Like being a kid and getting cookies or something.
Getting to lick the spoon.
Yeah. All right. Let's go down here in the leg. Again, there's a strong light source coming from the left, creating mostly medium to dark values on the leg, but we do have those highlights right out there on the edge.
Ginger has a comment on the way she would have approached this. She said she would put in all the darks first. You'd be skipping around a little bit, then put the midtones in and erase the highlights. And Ginger, I like to work that way a lot. I like to put in the darkest darks first and love to use the eraser to draw with. And we do have a super chat. It's Alex. Your membership is worth renewing, but I'm a bit tight on cash, so I'll have enough funds to renew my membership. Accept a small donation for your time. Well, thank you so much, Alex.
Well, that's very nice. Thank you, Alex. We really appreciate that. And I'll play the cheer there for you. And I know that it says but I want to make a comment about the suggestion that was made for the approach. And so what I wanted to say is, let's get rid of that silly timer.
You don't need that reminder.
I find that there are a lot of people out there who are too heavy-handed with graphite, and if you start with the darkest values, sometimes you might find that your drawing is dark. Now, that doesn't apply to everyone. Like Ashley said, that he likes to work that way sometimes. I like to generally work a little lighter than I want the drawing to be, and then go back and make things darker. Because you can always make things darker, but sometimes it's a little hard to make things lighter if you go too dark. So that's the way I like to err on the side of caution when I approach a drawing.
I always tell my students it's better to err on the dark side.
Well, that's because you're a dark individual.
I'm a heavy-handed person
and you like darkness. You like the macabre.
I know.
Yes, you
dark
do.
Shows up. Dark shows up from a distance.
You said you liked what pirate was it that
Blackbeard.
you were a big fan of?
I am a huge fan of Blackbeard and what he stood for.
Fan of Blackbeard and what he stood for.
He's been mischaracterized over the years.
Sure, he
was a regular Robin Hood for those of us, not me myself personally, but for those colonists in North Carolina years and years ago, he was
also a murderer. Correct.
Those are just British allegations.
I'm pretty sure those allegations are correct. I mean, you don't become the most feared pirate potentially of all time from being Mr. Rogers, you know?
Brian Nebula wonders what he stands for.
Yeah, what did he stand for?
Many people in the Caribbean and in the colonies of America were being overcharged for goods from their mother countries.
Yeah,
so Blackbeard would steal those goods and then sell them at a reasonable price to the colonists.
You know what we need to have on here? We need to have history lessons with Mr. Ashley.
Oh my gosh!
And every time you start telling us those history lessons,
so horrible.
We we need to have some kind of music that plays like classical music while you tell us the history that we should all be aware of.
The alternate history of history.
Right, because that's what it would be. Who else? What was the other guy that you liked?
I know what you learned in school, but let me tell you what really happened.
Who is the other guy that you said you liked from history that's like really terrible? Not
Are you talking about Vlad the Impaler, perhaps?
I don't know, maybe.
Just
you like Vlad the Impaler?
Defending his serfs, He's trying to keep them safe. It's a big responsibility.
Huh. Vlad the Impaler.
Yeah, he definitely got a bad rap through history. He was turned into a regular Dracula. Actually Dracula, so...
Well, I'm sure there was no truth to any of that.
Well, they say where there's smoke, there's fire, but there's some probably a little.
Well, in the case of Vlad, maybe where there's impaled bodies, there's Vlad. Vlad the Impaler. He's my favorite dude.
Jan has corrected me. He says, I've read a bit of serious historical treatise on piracy, and it was incredibly nasty and cruel.
Yeah, it was.
It's true. I know.
Yeah, Blackbeard would have murdered you in a second and laughed about it. Even though you might have said, I'm your biggest fan.
Right. Don't you have some cheap salt you can sell me? Lisa guesses Jack the Ripper. No.
Right. That was Jack the Ripper.
No.
Didn't you?
No, I'm a fan of an artist who was accused of being Jack the Ripper.
That's right. But he was a fan of Jack the Ripper.
He was accused. It was Walter Sickert.
Isn't he still accused of being Jack the Ripper?
No, I don't think so.
I think he is.
He was. That's
what it was. It was Jack the Ripper.
More people believe it was I don't remember his name, but there was a physician that was also accused, and more people believe it was he than Walter Sickert, the English painter.
But some people do think it was Walter Sickert.
Some people do.
Well, if those people are right, you're a fan of another.
I don't believe
historically treacherous. What's the word I'm looking for? A terrible person.
Were it true, But he painted well. He painted fast. Wasn't wrapped up in the details.
That doesn't make you a quality human being because you paint well and you paint fast.
No, I don't think it was Walter Sickert. I wouldn't suggest that his artistic skills prevented him from being Jack the Ripper, but I just don't think it was him.
Do you think
he just lives in the area?
Do you think since he painted fast, he would have been able to finish this drawing in 45 minutes?
Yes, Walter Sickert would have colored, shaded everything in a midtone. Then he would have put in dark spots and erased out the lights and been done.
Well,
he was a midtone first kind of guy.
You can do drawings a lot of different ways, as most of you know, and you've all seen us. If you're a fan of the show, a fan of the channel, you've seen us all draw in different ways.
That's true.
Like
on purpose.
On purpose.
Different approaches.
Yeah. So, just because I'm doing this in more traditional way doesn't mean that I wouldn't do it a different way.
Sure.
If I had more time, I would definitely be doing more racing and definitely some more rendering here. But let's see. Oh yeah, it's only 7:34.
Mm-hmm. We got lots of time.
26 minutes to the next show. I've just got to set up the watercolor and do all that stuff. But I've got plenty of time for that. Because I am going to call this one finished in about 30 seconds here. All right.
Well, I like how you've added motion or movement into this piece. They already felt like they're moving because the horse and the rider have a slight tilt to them. That indicates that they're in motion. But using a little line for movement is nice. We don't do that a lot because we don't often draw subjects in motion. Getting a little illustrative tonight.
Well, that's what I am. At the end of the day, I'm just an illustrator.
That's right. Whatever that means.
We won't go there.
Yeah, we'll save that.
We've been there before.
We'll save that for another week.
But you've changed your opinion on that.
That's true. I have. When presented with with good arguments, I'm always willing to change my opinion.
So wait a minute. That means that I never presented a good argument.
You did. I've been convinced over the years.
I changed your mind?
I thought about all your old arguments. I was like, yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Well,
I
that's
can
good.
see Matt's point.
Glad you come around. All right.
I also started taking more illustration jobs myself. That helped change.
That's what it was.
That helped change.
You
my
said,
mind.
well, I know I'm an artist, but I'm doing illustration work, so I think it's time for me to reevaluate
Right,
what
exactly.
an illustrator is. All right. So the sketch is done.
All right, very nice.
Yeah. A little bit longer. No, what? I say it's done, and I just, looking at the feet, there's just a few little.
Yeah, I like you separating that foot from the face a little bit. That actually made a difference.
There's a
right
few
there.
little areas that just need a little punch.
little accents.
Yeah, just
Save
so
them for
they.
the end.
Yeah, it's for the most part done. Let's kind of get a little bit more of the edge of the pants there. It's kind of a broken line, and feels like maybe just a little bit more definition on this neck here.
This is a nice drawing to kick off our 13th season.
On horseback with a horseback rider / horseman / person riding a horse. I might change the title of this video later, and I think I'm going to change it.
You can A/B test these titles.
I don't have time for A/B testing. But I do think that more people will be looking for a horseback rider than person riding a horse. So, all right.
Well, Hoot and Holler says, well done.
Thank you, Hoot and Holler. All right, so now it's done. Now it's more done.
All right. Hema says, nice experience, Matt. Great work. Thanks. And Angela says, horse stuntman.
Her stuntman?
A stuntman.
Oh, yeah, kind of.
I said stuntman, like it's a last name.
Yeah, you did say it like it was last name.
Stuntman.
Like, you just need to go down there to Stuntman and take a left, and then you'll head off to the Horseman. All right. We need to stop this silliness. All right. Do we have anything else from the folks out there?
Michael says,
before I switch
always
over?
fun.
Oh,
So
that's
just
good.
a lot of
Michael
positive
had fun.
comments rolling in. Thank you for your comments and for your support. And I hope your drawings are going well out there. I know they take a little longer when you're following along because you're always a step behind. So just keep going and till you reach the end of the road with your horseman.
Yeah, and something else to think about is, we've been drawing like this, you and I actually, for years, because teaching art requires you to draw quickly. So speed is not necessarily indicative of quality.
True.
So if you're creating your own drawing and you don't want to spend 45 minutes, do not spend 45 minutes. Spend a lot longer.
Sure.
Take your time. This is just because we're doing a show here on YouTube.
And we do have a super chat, Matt, from Enrique.
All right,
He says,
Enrique.
thanks for drawing and English classes. Enrique, you are welcome. And if you're practicing your English on with Matt and I's commentary, I don't know if that's a good idea.
Yeah, you're sure to say something wrong in some situation. If we are where you get your English education,
At least don't listen to us with regards to biology and like horse anatomy.
definitely
Anything
not
like that.
biology.
Yeah,
Yes,
we messed that up.
we know what we see, but we don't
We don't know what to call it.
understand what we see.
That's right. PJ has thrown up a super chat.
All right, sweet PJ.
And, PJ just is supporting the channel because he didn't have a comment. Thank you, PJ.
Well, we really appreciate it, and we'll go ahead and switch over now. I pushed the right button.
Excellent.
Hey, only pushed the wrong button once this.
It's a good
this time.
start.
It's
Good
good.
start to a season.
So Ashley will be doing the drawing next week, and you said you were had some ideas.
I've
maybe.
got some pictures I'm looking at, and since you've worked in graphite, this week that may play into my decision making. I'll probably try to do something with charcoal or maybe with pastel.
All right.
That's
That
what
sounds
I'm
great. And a few people have requested a little bit of watercolor again this season.
Well,
And
it went so well last season.
I broke the seal on the watercolor
Yep.
last season. So
And I've thought about doing an oil sketch, even though I know that some folks can't necessarily follow along with the same materials.
Yeah.
Because oil painting is a little bit less common, but you can sketch in oil paint just as well as any other medium. So we may try to do that.
all right. Well, that sounds great. We got a lot of work. I got a lot of work to do before the next show. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Guys, thanks for sticking around for the whole time. If you did, hope you enjoyed it. Share this video, like this video, comment on this video, because that apparently helps other people find it. Not really sure how that works, but that's what they tell me. Thanks again. We will see you right here next week at the same time. And Ashley will be under the gun and under the pressure of the 45 minutes. And I can't wait to sit back and watch that.
Yeah.
And we will watch it. Ashley, you have anything else?
Just hope you guys have a great week, and any art making that you do between now and next week goes well for you.
Awesome. Good night, everybody.